A hijacked empty passenger plane chased by F-15s crashing outside of Seattle. And right now, the scene is at smoldering island, and federal agencies from all over trying to figure out how on earth this happened. Our 10 News anchor Lindsay Pena is in the live center. And Lindsay, you have air traffic controls communication with that hijacker.
Yeah, we do. We're going to get to that in just a minute, Steve. Some actually pretty startling audio there. But let's first take a look at some of that video of the plane. Again, as this was all playing out, this was shot by people on the ground just watching this happen. This is another video on Twitter waiting for that, just to load. And you can see people trying to catch this. That is one of those F-15s actually right there that you mentioned. Now tonight, the Pierce County Sheriff's Department giving us a lot of the information that we know. This is what they have said. The man who took that plane is 29 years old and acted alone. Authorities say he was suicidal. They also say this was not a terrorist act. Let's go ahead and take a look at that video of the crash scene. Once again, you can see those flames just going through the area of Ketron Island right there. Still a very active scene. We did mention that audio between the man who hijacked this plane and air traffic control. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Wouldn't know how to land it. I wasn't really planning on landing it. I just kind of want to do a couple maneuvers, see what it can do. Everything's peachy clean. Just did a little circle around Rainier. It's beautiful. I think I got some gas to go check out the Olympics.
As you said, or as I said, sorry, that man apparently, according to authorities, was suicidal. This is a look at the area where this all played out. Seattle and Tacoma up over here, and this is Ketron Island where that plane eventually crashed. We also want to show you exactly what that plane looked like. It was a different airline from Alaska Airlines. I'm sorry, it was a plane similar to this one is what was taken tonight from Seattle Tacoma Airport. And again, we are following all of this. We are still looking through some of that audio and listening to what the man who took that plane had to say to air traffic control. We'll have some more of that coming up a little bit later in the show. Steve?
All right, Lindsay, thank you. In the meantime, we have our aviation expert, Bill Hensley, joining us on the phone right now. Bill, we understand that you've not flown this type of plane before, but you've flown in and out of SeaTac Airport quite a bit. Let us know from a viewer standpoint, first of all, and your standpoint, how does this happen with security in an airport like that?
That's a good question, yes. I've flown in and out of Seattle many times as an airline pilot. And what I would have to say for this particular incident, what we have to keep in mind is if indeed this was an airline personnel, that all of the security measures that are in place and are very effective since post 9/11. They're almost out the window when it's an airline employee. So when things like this happen, I guarantee you that all of the airlines, in conjunction with the TSA, will re-examine security measures involving employees. Because if this indeed was an employee, the normal security measures have been, obviously not in place.
All right, so I'll give you that much. Let's say he's an employee, so he has access to the airfield now and to the planes. He's a mechanic, sure, not a pilot. We're getting reports that clearly not in his right mind, possibly suicidal. What type of clearance would an individual have to go through who might be in that state? How do you see those signs?
When you say clearance, are you talking about licensing or are you talking about the security measures? Which one are you referencing?
Talking about being able to have a job like that, to be able to get close to planes like that. If you are seeing the signs maybe that someone's just not in their right mind.
Got it. Exactly. Yeah, well, hiring process at an airline is very stringent. There are a lot of filters. There are a lot of barriers that people have to go through. Pilots, the most of all. Pilots and flight attendants, people on the airplane, have to go through the most stringent requirements in terms of access to controls of an airplane. However, mechanics, ground personnel, people that load the food and the carts and clean the airplanes have different levels. Often when something like this happens, that's all re-examined in terms of providing people to the access. That's just common sense. So I guarantee you that access to controlled areas is going to be changed, enhanced, at least reviewed and looked at from the airline level all the way to the TSA anytime something like this occurs.
Bill, final question for you. You've flown in and out of this airport quite a bit, the 9th busiest in the nation. This region of the Puget Sound, there are about almost 4 million people that live there. Just talk about the disaster that was averted tonight, what really could have been disastrous.
Well, having islands and having water, of course, we were extremely fortunate because that was one of my, when I just heard it transpiring, that was my number one concern. It sounded like it was somebody either who had ill intentions or who has some mental issues. And let's just be thankful that I'm not sure, exactly where it came down or if there was anybody on the ground, but it could have been much worse. So overall, we've been very lucky. And we may think this is aviation related, and it is only in that it was an aircraft, because it was really a person, it sounds like, who has mental issues and could have, done this in any kind of mode or method or vehicle. It just happened to be an airplane. But the interesting thing is, if indeed he was the only one on the airplane, he was somehow figured out how to start this thing up and take it off, which is no easy task. This is much more complex than a Cessna.
So much to learn from this. Bill Hensley, we do appreciate your time, and we do want to let our viewers know